I want to talk to my Christian brothers and sisters for a moment. Of course, everybody can listen in. From Carlton.ca. The importance of the land of Israel in Christianity. Christianity. The emergence of Christianity, these important events have been marked by the creation of important religious sites, which can be illustrated in the example of a visit to Helena, mother of Emperor Constantine. Helena arrived in the Holy Land in 326 CE to identify the sites associated with the sacred stories of the life of Jesus and other biblical characters. Upon identification, some of these sites were recognized by the building of magnificent churches, such as the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which was built on Emperor Constantine's orders, after Helena identified its site as the exact spot in which Jesus was crucified, buried, and resurrected. As more of these spots were identified by individuals over the following millennia, more and more holy sites began to spring up in the Holy Land. Crusader sites in Akko and Caesarea that emphasized the importance of the land and its sites to Christianity. Part of the Crusades, Christians sought to take back the Holy Land and put it under their control to secure the land and Christian access to the important holy sites that existed there. The Christian crusade came about because of the earlier Muslim crusade. It was a response to it. The land of Israel has always been important for Christians over the centuries. Always. Jerusalem, Bethlehem, Nazareth. Bethlehem, the birthplace of Jesus. And the land of Israel continues to be important to Christians today. Christian pilgrimage compromises approximately 700,000 individuals per year. Almost a quarter of all the visitors to Israel. And it's increasing every year. Increasing every year. Christianity was born in modern-day Israel. Before that, Judaism was born in modern-day Israel. As I said, and as you know, Bethlehem is Jesus' birthplace. It's now controlled by the Palestinians. The Temple Mount, which was built by the Muslims, on top of the site of the first temple, so it was purposely built there, is in many ways a no Jewish go zone. And yet it's one of the holiest sites in Judaism. The history of Judaism, the history of Christianity abounds in the state of Israel. When you look in your Bible, when you read your Bible, the holy sites, the great prophets, others who came before us, this is where they lived. This is where they were born. This was their home. Always under attack by outsiders. Always. Yet the Christians survive. And the Jews survive. Will they survive in the Middle East this time? Will they? With Iran on the precipice of getting nuclear weapons? With the Islamists who will do nothing to stop their effort to slaughter anybody who disagrees with them, Jew, Christian, or even Muslim who doesn't join in with them? On October 7th and now, you see the closest ever to the destruction of the state of Israel and all those ancestral holy sites that the Jewish people in Israel are protecting. They're all subject to being destroyed, like the Taliban destroyed all the sites in Afghanistan. The Buddhist sites, thousands of years old. Do we want all these things destroyed? Why should our faith be pushed out of the Middle East by Islamist movements who make false claims of ownership of the land? Where are all the Jews and Christians in Iraq? Where are they? Where are all the Jews and Christians in Saudi Arabia? Where are they? Where are all the Jews and Christians in ancient Persia, a.k.a. Iran? Where are they? The overwhelming majority have been pushed out of their homes, their ancestral homes. The one place where they're protected is the state of Israel, that has lost men and women defending those holy sites from Palestinian terrorists and terrorist regimes that surround it. Israel is surrounded by regimes and terrorists who want to destroy it, destroy their faith, destroy the holy sites of Christians and Jews. Surrounded. Now, what does this have to do with anything? Well, ladies and gentlemen, people are putting their lives on the line to protect these sites. They're dying to protect these holy sites for Christians and Jews. Dying. Police, IDF soldiers. The Palestinians claim ownership of Bethlehem. Based on what? Based on nothing. Jerusalem, Hebron, where the patriarchs and most of the matriarchs are born. They claim ownership of that. They claim ownership of Judea and Samaria. Judaism was born in Judea, in a little town called Shiloh, long before there was a city of David or a Jerusalem. The Palestinians claim that too. It's a tiny country, 7 million Jews, tiny geography, surrounded by tens of millions of enemy, with increasing levels of technologically advanced weaponry. Which brings me to my point. The Speaker of the House, Johnson, is a very religious man. He's a born-again evangelical Christian. He knows the history of this part of the world. You may not always agree with him, but he's a very decent man. He sees what Schumer, who is not a decent man, and McConnell, who is not a decent man, and Hakeem Jeffries, who is not a decent man, all these reprobates are doing, creatures of politics in Washington, to try and jam up support for Israel by tying it to other countries, by tying it to the border, demanding that there's going to be support to give additional munitions to Israel to defend itself and defend these holy sites, that they vote for a $118 billion bill, when Israel represents about $14 billion of that bill. Speaker Johnson says, you know what, I've had enough of this. That war is ongoing. The Biden administration is undermining the state of Israel. They need munitions. They're going to run out of munitions while facing these terrorist regimes who claim all these holy sites, Jew, Christian, and the entire territory from the river to the sea, they claim. to wipe out the biblical history, the biblical sites of Abraham, of Jesus, and all of them. The last time the Palestinians and the Jordanians controlled Jerusalem, they destroyed synagogues and other holy sites. Destroyed them. Because they mean nothing to Islamists. Nothing. And they were nothing more to blow out the biblical history of the Jews and the Christians. Speaker Johnson says this is a little country. They're our ally. They were attacked. There's no guarantee they're going to survive. They don't have a massive defense industry. There's not enough people. But the weapons they have, they put to damn good use. But they're running out of munitions. And Johnson says, I'm not going to play this game with the Democrats anymore. I'm going to break out the Israel munitions bill and have a vote on that bill apart from all the rest. And by the way, when funds are provided for munitions for a country like Israel, the money never leaves the United States. Munitions that are manufactured by our companies, built by our American citizens, and the end product, the munitions, are sent to Israel. Basically, they have a tab with the Treasury and the Pentagon created by Congress. There's not billions of dollars flowing into Israel. It doesn't work that way. So Johnson says, look, we're not going to be able to break this logjam with these Democrats. So let me break out the bill. Because this is a special case for our ally Israel that provides us with intelligence, that provides our forces with defense whenever they can. And by the way, has a technological sector second to none, even in many respects more advanced than our own. And they share that with us for free. They even advance our own weapons systems. The Iron Dome was the Patriot missile system, and they perfected it. And they gave that technology to us because they're our ally, because we support them and they support us. And he says, all right, let's vote on it. And then the Freedom Caucus says, no, not so fast. Not so fast. That $14 billion needs to be offset with other spending cuts. Johnson says, but the Democrats are not going to go for that. They can't stop spending. Every dollar is not the same. A dollar for a pork barrel program in Texas, or a pork barrel program in Florida, or a pork barrel program in Virginia, in some of these districts where we have these deficit hawks, and I'm a deficit hawk. A dollar for so-called climate change and electric vehicles and non-government organizations. You know, we spend $6.5 trillion, so much of it for crap, redistributing wealth, expansion of welfare, all the rest of it. $14 billion. So Israel can defend itself and defend these holy sites. On behalf of all Christians and Jews, as well as other people of goodwill. And the Freedom Caucus says no. No. Because you need to offset that $14 billion. And we have a $34 trillion debt. They're actually wrong. We have a $300 trillion debt when you consider unfunded liabilities. But the Democrats are not going to go along. First of all, they don't support Israel. Some claim they do, but as a group, they support Hamas. Biden is undermining Israel with Iran. So it turns out the United States, directly and indirectly, is providing more funds to Iran, Hamas, the PLO, and Hezbollah than munitions to Israel. So Israel's having to defend itself against American money that has been used to arm up their enemies. And then when it comes to Israel, now we have to have offsetting. Offsetting what? Dollar for dollar. And so the Speaker of the House recognizes that some things have to be defended, like our historic sites and our history. The history of Christianity, the history of Judaism. Our faith has to be defended. These are sites that cannot be recreated. And the people who are defending them. In the Bible, God calls Jews his chosen people. I'm not saying you have to embrace that idea or not. And so we actually have people who are saying, not unless we offset every dollar, the $14 billion with a dollar somewhere else, because look at this debt. Look at the debt. $300 trillion. $14 billion. Seems like a hell of a bargain to me, Mr. Producer, because they're doing all the fighting over there against Hamas and the rest. Yes, our soldiers are dying needlessly. What Biden has done is utterly unnecessary. But I'm not talking about that. I want to discuss this a little bit further when I return. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
There's only one people who stand between the Palestinian/Arab/Muslim terrorists, all of whom are not terrorists, obviously. He said the terrorists. And the biblical sites of the Jews and the Christians. And that's the Jews of Israel. That's the IDF and the Mossad. There's nothing else to protect them. Nothing. Zero. That's it. And then I want to address this financial issue even further. Every dollar is not the same. You can piss away billions and billions of dollars, which our Congress does. And the reason these things aren't done by a computer is because people have to make decisions, priority decisions. That's what Edmund Burke said. You got to do what your voters pretty much want, but you got to run it through your own mind and your own conscience. And I'm going to tell you why the Freedom Caucus is dead wrong in addition to what I've already said. I'll be right back. Israel is your country too. It's the home of your history. It's the home of your faith. It's the home of the people mentioned in the Bible. It's the home of Jesus, his birthplace, of Abraham. Israel is a Jewish state, but it is a home for your people and your faith too. It is protected by the Israelis. It would cease to exist if, in fact, the Palestinian terrorists in Iran and the others had their way. Everything in their path would be destroyed because they seek to extinguish the Jews, their faith, and the Christians and their faith, as well as other Muslims who don't share their Islamist terrorism ideology. So when you hear the Freedom Caucus say we need a dollar for dollar, this isn't some government program. This isn't some welfare program. This isn't redistribution of wealth. People, as I speak, are fighting to protect these sites, to protect this country from terrorist barbarians. I'd say that should be a priority.